So today I'm going to be going over a few tips for ChatGPT that a lot of you probably aren't aware of, or at least things that you probably will find interesting. So one of the first tips is to use what we call projects. A lot of people overlook projects with ChatGPT, but it's a great way that you can actually do things on ChatGPT and keep it confined to that workspace. So for instance, let's say that we are writing something. We can click Writing, and we're going to keep it to specific to writing. And you can see here that projects keep chats, files, and custom instructions in one place, use them for ongoing work, or just try to keep things tidy. So this is going to keep it strictly for our writing project, and it will only be confined to here. So anything that we basically add to it, just files, any chats, any information you give it will be confined to that, which is perfect, so that it doesn't overlap with other things that you're doing on ChatGPT. You can also see these settings up here, so you can have the default, so project can access memories from outside chats and vice versa, or we can keep it to project only, so project can only access its own memories. So let's go ahead and click that, because you're going to want to keep it to be very confined so that it's not going to be using other information. I think this is ideal when you're doing this, because sometimes, let's say your ChatGPT in general has memories for specific things. For instance, let's say you're a content creator and it's memorized already that you're a content creator. And for instance, you have you want it to produce SEO options for you regularly. By doing this, it won't integrate that in case, for instance, you're doing something for school or work that's irrelevant to your content creation. So keeping it project only confines it for the workspace of writing specifically in this case. So we're going to go ahead and create project. And then that basically created a new project that we can always come back to and work on. So for instance, let's say you are working on a paper for school and you wanted some advice on it. You can go ahead and add files and add whatever documents that you need or images, and you can go ahead and continue writing in the project form. So you can give it custom instructions that'll stay confined in the project that we are working on, as opposed to it getting a bunch of information from other chats or anything else. So for instance, you can give it custom instructions like this. You can tell it you are a writing expert, which it should know already. You have a vast vocabulary and understanding of English grammar. I will be using you to help me with writing papers for university. So we'll go ahead and tell it that, and that would basically create the project and set it up for whatever it is that you'd be using it for. In this case, we'd be using it for school, for our university. And it says, that sounds great. I'd be glad to help you with your university papers, whether it's brainstorming, structuring an argument, or refining your prose, or polishing grammar and style. Do you already have a paper or topic in mind? Then basically you can go through whatever it is that you're doing in this project space, allowing it to be confined to that project space and specific to writing in this case. But as you've seen before, you can create a new project, and it doesn't have to be strictly writing. There's health, travel, for instance. You can create a fitness coach or something. You could have homework help if it's something where you need to brainstorm a little more. Or you can do something like investing. There's all kinds of options, and you can always customize it to your own liking. So that's one of the few amazing tips that a lot of people overlook when accessing projects, and specifically when creating a new project, as I mentioned earlier, that the memory mode here, that you can put it to default or align it so it's strictly to the project only, allowing it to be confined and more organized as opposed to going through your whole GPT memory. Another very important tip that I'm going to give you guys for ChatGPT is to always verify facts, especially if you're dealing with things such as statistics or, anything that, in the case that you're writing a paper or some sort of even sports analysis. It's important to always verify the facts and double check, because for whatever reason ChatGPT makes incredible mistakes sometimes, and I'm going to give you an example of this. So we're going to go ahead and ask it for I'm going to ask it a football-related question. So for instance, here you'll see a question I asked yesterday about Tyreek Hill's knee injury. So I said, does Tyreek Hill's knee injury tonight mean he's out for season? They say it's not confirmed. And then we go through the process. Will he likely retire? Unlikely. And then I go, what about Malik Neighbors? Now it says here Malik Neighbors just suffered a torn right ACL and has been ruled out for the rest of 2025. Okay, that's fine. And let's say you're writing a paper, or you have some sort of news thing that you're doing for football, or anything related to some sort of news, right? You would be looking at this and you say, okay, so will Neighbors return to the same form? You'll scroll down, and what should the Giants do at receiver now? And they say the options of what they can do. You'll scroll down further. I ask who would be a viable trade candidate, and they give this is where it starts to get incorrect, right? So they'll say Jacoby Myers. This is a fair assessment, but as you can see here, they go Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is no longer on the Panthers. He is actually on another team. He was traded back to the Minnesota Vikings, and this is not like fresh news. This is pretty old, so it just goes to show you that it can take information and facts, and if it's not checking the right information and making sure it's always up to date, and this is very specific in this case to football, but I'm sure it applies to other areas as well. You need to double check the facts because it sometimes uses out-of-date information, and even if when you tell it to confine it to newer information, such as only the 2025 season, it'll still commonly make mistakes or overlook it because it's always searching the web and using older data, especially for things that change frequently like NFL rosters. So always double check your facts, especially if you're doing something news related or something study related that needs contemporary, very recent information. And as we can see here, I believe I scrolled down and it basically reiterated, like, as you can see, your viable trade targets when I was asking about Malik Neighbors after the injury. Additionally, Tyreek Hill remains a high-end trade candidate in rumors, but acquiring him is expensive in picks. But we literally just told it that Tyreek Hill also injured himself, and it completely forgets that. So it's just worth it to always double-check facts when dealing with ChatGPT, especially if you're doing something news-related or you're relying on very recent information. Just always double-check. And my final tip for ChatGPT today is just basically how to create prompts. Now, a lot of people have difficulty creating prompts because there is some form of art to it, I guess. But the easiest way to do this, especially for, let's say, you're doing image generation, is to simply just ask ChatGPT to do it for you. So, for instance, let's say I wanted to create something for Sora. So you can ask it this, I am trying to create an amazing video on Sora for an intro to a YouTube video for my Tech Tips channel. Can you please help me create a prompt that can be applied to Sora that matches the language it requires to get the perfect output that is relevant to my channel? So this is a lot of word salad here. I just tried to make it as descriptive as possible so it would understand me, and you can do the same. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to give you the prompt that you require. So by doing this, let's see what it gives us, and we'll be able to copy and paste it. So here, a cinematic YouTube intro for a technology tips channel, grid background, 8 to 10 seconds, aspect 6 to 9. We don't need to copy this, but we can go ahead and copy all that because we'll be able to edit it ourselves in Sora. So let's go take a look and see what we can actually create with this just off of this example. But as I said, the tip is just basically go ahead and ask ChatGPT to create you the prompts because it knows what it's doing. So whatever it is that you're trying to prompt, even if it's ChatGPT itself, you can ask it to do it for you. You don't have to go through all these hoops and learning about prompt mechanics and all these different things. You can simply ask AI and ChatGPT to help you do it. So upon prompting it, this is what it created for us, which actually looks pretty great, to be honest. Tech tips, that's all the tech background, exactly what we'd be asking for. You know, obviously it's never perfect, and you can always reprompt it, but it gives you the best concept while just, using ChatGPT as the prompt creator. So once again, you can simply just go to ChatGPT and basically have it create prompts for you by simply prompting it to create a prompt for whatever platform it is you're on. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful or at least interesting. If you did, please like and subscribe, and have a nice day.